Black Power. Okay, I'm going to say Habari Gani, and that means what's the news, and you're going to say Nia. Habari Gani. Habari Gani. Habari Gani. Very good. So we're going to bring up our speaker. Ron can come up now. And we're going to continue with our festivities. Of course, I'm donning the hat of Marcus Messiah Garvey, which I'm the Grand Marshal for the Garvey Parade each and every year for the past, I guess, about 15 years now. And so we are definitely in the movement here. So please welcome our speaker and our artist, Reverend.
All right, greetings, NAN family. We can all just take our seat for this moment. I won't be before you long, but now is the time where we take our seats, where we quiet down a bit. I will not begin until everyone is in their seat and we are at a place of where I can speak to you. So those in the back, right, I need you to get it together. The time for refreshments has come to a close. If you can take your seat. If you have devices on, I need you to shut them off. I do not want to hear devices. I'll wait. Thank you very much. Greetings, NAN family. Greetings, Habari Gani. Nia, yes, you respond, Nia. Touch your neighbor and say Habari Gani. And the other person's supposed to respond and say Nia. Nia, yes, Nia. Today we will be talking about Nia. We will be talking about purpose. But before we get into talking about purpose, and you guys need to get this, so I'm urging for everyone to just center into their attention, right? We need to know what purpose is in order to go into this next chapter against all the fights that we have in this day and age. But first, I would like to thank God, right? If you could put our hands together for the Almighty who has brought us here together. If it were not for Him, where will we be today? Ain't that right? I would like also to give honor to the Reverend Al Sharpton, to Dr. Franklin Richardson, to all of you in attendance, to my mentor James Haas in the corner. Let's put our hands together for you that made it on today. Come on now. You made it here. You came to celebrate. And we know Kwanzaa is our celebration of our culture, of our community, and of our family. So as we celebrate, we need to keep these things in mind. And today we are talking about the topic of Nia. Nia is a Swahili word for purpose. Everyone say purpose. Purpose. Yes, we're talking about purpose. But the kind of purpose Dr. Kalinga was talking about wasn't about an individual purpose. It was about a collective purpose. Everybody say collective purpose. Collective purpose. So what it means is that we need to work together in order to get ahead. Yes. Oh, we got silent there. Yes. We got silent there. When it comes to building in our community, I cannot build by myself. That's right. That's right. I cannot be the carpenter and the electrician and the plumber. We need to come together, and I can also be the architect. So we need each other to come together to build a safer community. Right. Dr. Kalinga, the founder of Kwanzaa, talked about it's important to know our Nia so that we can collectively come together so that we can build towards our collective and traditional greatness. Everyone say traditional greatness. Traditional greatness. So your whole purpose is to get towards your traditional greatness. A lot of us are sleeping on this one. Right? Because we don't understand what our traditional greatness is because we don't know our history. Right. Come on. A lot of us are sleeping on what is our history. Right. And because you don't know your history and your traditional greatness, well, a lot of us are stuck where we are. Wow. You can't go nowhere not knowing where you came from. That's right. Come on. So when Dr. Kalinga is talking about traditional greatness, is talking about the responsibility and purpose as a people to collectively make this world a better place. Everybody say better place.
Better place.
Some of you are saying, I'm living my best day. Well, I'm living in hell while you're living your best day. We need to change things. Right now, the Supreme Court has reversed affirmative action. It has reversed voting rights. It has reversed women's rights. But yet you're sitting there living your best life. It's because you're not on the wall building. We need to come together as a community so that we can build a better future. Everybody say NIA. NIA. NIA is a collective effort to build a better community. This is the dream of Dr. Kalinga, that we in this United States of America, in the condition that we're in, dream, and not just dream, but work for a better future. Dr. King, in his speech, also has a dream, and in his dream, he talks about, he says, I have a dream that one day the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down. He says, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they're not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their what? Of their character. That's a dream. We're not there yet. And we're not going to get there unless you do what?
Work together.
Work together and build. Everybody say NIA.
NIA.
NIA means building towards our collective unity to get to our traditional greatness.
Yes.
So even though Dr. King, the father of the movement in the 60s, told us and gave us the blueprint through his dream that God gave him, God just gives you the blueprint, but he does not do the work for you. So a lot of us are sitting down on a dream and wondering, where are we going to get to the place that Dr. King talked about? But we're never going to get there with you sitting down looking at a television. With you sitting there backbiting your neighbor. With you sitting there with a crab-like mentality.
Yes.
If we don't come together, we're not going to get there.
That's right.
Malcolm X says, I'm speaking as a victim of the American system, and I am American though seeing it through the eyes of a victim. We don't see the American dream, Malcolm X, but we see this American nightmare.
Wow.
What is Malcolm X talking about, and how is that different than what Dr. King was saying? They both were talking about our condition, but one was talking about where we gotta go, and the other was talking about where we are. Malcolm X is telling us this is where we are, but we have to do something to get out of this nightmare. So I address you today. And I hope that as you leave this place, you can leave this place coming in maybe just a layperson, but leaving here a dream builder. I address the dream builders. Everyone say dream builder.
Dream builder.
Say, I am a dream builder.
I am a dream builder.
Say it again, I am a dream builder.
I am a dream builder.
When you leave this place, don't just say it, but put it into action.
Yes.
NIA is about building the community to get to our traditional greatness. And we are not yet there yet. Dr. Kalinga's dream and Dr. Martin Luther King's dream is not yet realized because the laborers have not yet been unified on the wall.
Right. Right.
We have not been yet unified in the project and progress of our community. So many of us are divided in ideologies in school and thought. So many of us got so much to say but do nothing.
Hey. All right.
And what I urge you to do is all that fire in your chest, that you get up and do something. That you stop being a spectator on the wall, but that you get on the wall and you work. That you stop being a hater of what other people are doing and get in the mix.
Yes.
You You see, the fight that we have in this country is a fight that is not only a physical fight, but a spiritual fight.
Yes.
You see, because we wrestle not against just flesh and blood, but we wrestle against invisible principalities. And if you are not tapped into the spirit, you will not be able to hear the stomps of the enemy or see his plan. But you got to get tapped into a power. Why? We don't have the resources the devil has. We don't have the technological advances the enemy has. But what we have is a higher power. And when you tap into the higher power, all other powers must come down. How many of you here believe in the blood? Am I the only one? Am I the only believer in here? I wish I had a church that understood about the blood, how the blood took us from slavery to the White House, how the blood got us through the cotton fields, how the blood has kept us even till today. And even though they have taken back so much from the Supreme Court, we're going to fight and march on. You see, there's still wonder-working power that happens through the blood. All that blood that was shed in the Middle Passage, that blood is still working in us. That blood, that power that came to this country and built it into the powerhouse that it is today. I wonder if the sons and the daughters of the people that made this country rich for free got together, what kind of power would you have? If we can just circle a dollar in our community 10 more times than what we already do, what kind of power will we have? Where will we be able to go? You see, Dr. Karinga was talking about a purpose that is much greater than one individual. In order to fight a system, you got to join something in order to fight back. No fist is a fist with one finger. It takes all of them to clutch together. But you got to tap into your community. You see, I see a lot of us have come for refreshments. A lot of us didn't come to hear this. A lot of us have come to fall asleep and to be on our phones. And I'm not shaming eating, but somewhere I read that the Word of God is so infinite that man should just not live on bread and refreshments alone. But that if we tap into the power, we can live on God himself if we allow him to be our provider. We first have to change this mindset of what it is to build. You see, a couple of years ago, about 10 years ago, we got our first black president. And a lot of us felt like the work was over.
Right.
A lot of us sat down on the work. A lot of us sat down on the wall. And the problem with that is that when we only had getting a black president, the first floor built. And a lot of us don't understand the vision. We're not in this to just build the first floor, but we're here because we built up the other communities, but in our communities, it's time that we start building cathedrals. It's time that we stop building the master's table and build a house of our own. It's time that we collectively fight this fight, because if we don't, we will be destroyed. You see, God does not fight in the way that you want him to do. God is not going to do the work for us, people. He only provides the architectural plan. So what am I talking about? When God was going to destroy the world in the book of Genesis, he called on a man by the name of Noah. And he says that God gave a plan to Noah. But Noah had to build the plan. God has given us a dream. He has given us a plan. But if you do not work, our world will be destroyed. And the problem is a lot of us do not like to follow instruction. But if Noah had not followed the instruction precisely to what God had intended for the ark to be, his family would be drowning. His world would be lost. say Nia.
Nia.
Say purpose.
Purpose.
God gave the plan to David to build his temple. Did God build the temple, y'all? No, he didn't. He did not build the temple. He only gave the plan. And if we don't get together and do the work, then we will not be able to experience the presence of the Lord and the fullness of glory that he intended it for us. When we talk about the word Nia, it is important that we understand that we must come together. And that when you come and join something, that you get active, that you just don't stand and watch. That you don't just stand and be a spectator. That whatever you join, that you add something to it. That you don't come to an organization and offer the number 0. Because you can't add anything to the number of 0. If you come to my wall or my construction site and you add nothing, I'm telling you to get out of my space. When you come, add a 1 or a 2. I need you to come through those doors looking like multiplication. I need you to help this movement get to where it needs to go. Do not come to a movement and do nothing but give your gifts so that we can further our purpose as a people. Everybody say Nia. Nia. God has called us to work together. And he has called us to his assignment to bring the world to a better place. But the problem is that some of us built a house and thought that because we insulated it with straw, that when the big bad wolf came and the storms came, thought that it would stand. A lot of us feel that what we have done is enough, but it is not, as we're seeing voting rights being peeled back and affirmative action and all kinds of things being pulled back, as we're seeing police reform not go anywhere. We have to take up the charge and the call, y'all. And some of us think because we built with wood that it would stand. But the only thing that can stand is if you build on a rock named Jesus. Only a foundation in him and a faith-based movement can get us where we need to go. In a time of where they're trying to erase black history, where they're trying to abandon our history, censor our history, erase who we are, we need to stand up and reach our God-given purpose that is Nia. And with that, I say God bless everybody. I say Ashe. Ashe. With this, I'm going to ask for everyone to stand for this affirmation as we say this Nia affirmation together. If everyone can just stand. Repeat after me. I will make a special contribution in life and do so freely. I will find my purpose in life through prayer and study and meditation. I will take a positive action. I will use my talents and collaboration with my brother and with my sister so that we may prosper. No justice, no peace. God bless you. Back to the hands of our presider. Thank you very much.
Please give a big round of applause for our keynote speaker, Reverend Ronald L. McHenry. Okay, what we're going to do now is arts and culture. We're going to light our candles in here and do our ceremony. And after that, we have a special treat for you. And you can all participate with our newest member for the Main Arts and Culture, Soul Sax, after the lighting of the candles. By Owen Rogers. Mr. Rogers, where are you? Come on down. And the next contestant on Kwanzaa is right.
Okay. Now, one of the things that we consistently do here is we ask the people who are here to take the word that you have heard here out. Take it out to your family, to your block, to the people that you know. There are people that we know in our community who have never heard the word Kwanzaa.
That's right.
And imagine if those people are our own children.
Wow.
How shameful is that? There are people in our community who do not have the knowledge that we celebrate today. It is incumbent upon us, when we leave this place today, that somebody that we know, that somebody in our community, in our family, that they know, hey, what were you guys doing up on 145th Street today? If your people do not know what we are doing here today, then I will say, shame on you.
Right.
They may live in ignorance, but you, however, are condemning them perhaps even more to ignorance by not sharing what you have. We have a celebration of our culture, our history, our people, our heritage that we have been doing these last 50 years. That celebration, like any birthday party that you go to, like any sports event that you go to, if you enjoy, you get something out of it, you go home and you say, man, you know what I did? You won't believe what I found out. You take that information to your family. Today, as we talk about Kwanzaa, we talk about the celebration of our history and culture in ways that we can take back to our family. The first thing that we do is we talk about the candles, the Mishumu Saba, the 7 candles. The lighting of each candle is supposed to be, one, a memory, two, a commitment, a promise that we make to ourselves as well as to our community. On the first day of Kwanzaa, December 26th, we light a candle. On this kinara, this candle holder, we have the center candle is a black candle. And that's the candle that we light on the first day. How many of you know the prayer, the celebration that we commemorate on the first day of Kwanzaa? One person? Wait, I guess you're in the right place to learn that. Okay? We're going to have this sister stand up and teach us.
Oh, really?
Nice and loud. The first day of Kwanzaa, the principle that we celebrate is Umoja, unity. We're talking about letting our people, our children, our community know that you ain't by yourself. You are not out here all alone. You got people who got your back. That first day, we celebrate the principle of Umoja. That's our first day together. As we move to the second day of Kwanzaa, December 27th, we celebrate another one of the principles that is a critical part of our moving forward. On that second day of Kwanzaa, let me just make sure I light the right candle here. On the second day of Kwanzaa, as we celebrate, we are celebrating the principle of, you know about it. I want to have you up here doing this for us next year. What principle do we celebrate on that second day of Kwanzaa? Anybody know? Nobody knows? The second day of Kwanzaa. Nice and loud. It's a mouthful. And it's a word that we may have trouble with because it's a word that's in one of the native tongues of West Africa that we're not used to speaking African languages. Kujichagulia. The second day of Kwanzaa, we celebrate the principle of Kujichagulia. And as we celebrate Kujichagulia, would help you.
You want some now? You want a now?
We want to talk about the second day of Kwanzaa, us having celebrated unity. We then talk about how do we use our unity to build up our community. And we use that unity by recognizing the principle of Kujichagulia, self-determination. Self-determination means that once we are adults in our consciousness, we make the decision as to how we can best help our community. It's normal when you're 6 years old, grandpa or grandma says, you know what? You make a good carpenter. You know what? You should be somebody who's a tailor. You should be a doctor. That's normal when you're 6 years old. If 10 years later, someone else is still deciding your future and your career, then we have to check ourselves. We should be determining, self-determination, our future, our careers. Okay? We then go and we're lighting the candle for the second principle. On the second day of Kwanzaa, we're celebrating Kujichagulia, self-determination. I am an individual created by God in ways that will magnify God's glory. And you know what? Ultimately, God gave me the power to define which direction I will go. Lots of other people make a very good living telling you what to do. You should drive this kind of car. You should wear that kind of clothing. You should buy this kind of TV. They make a good living telling you what you should be doing with your life. If we believe in the principles of the Nguzo Saba, we tell us what we should be doing. Self-determination.
Can you call order?
On the third day,
Can you call order? Because I can't hear. There's a lot of people talking. Hold the mic closer.
we need to make sure, particularly in the back of the room, that we have some semblance of order so that everyone can hear what's being done.
Please draw your attention to Owen Rogers. This is one of the most important parts of our service, and then we're going to turn it over to Arnold Penix for the entertainment.
I need for you to be respectful and to listen. You may not learn or may not hear what we're talking about, but the person next to you deserves to hear what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
In that sense of respect, we'd ask you please to keep your conversation to a minimum so that other people can hear what's being done. On the third day of Kwanzaa, we celebrate the principle of Ujima. Ujima is critical if you understand what's going on here today. She has done a wonderful job putting together this program, Dawn Jones, consistently for years and years and years. But you know what? And any of you who know her know, Dawn is not a one-person star of the show. She pulls along your sister, please. She doesn't do it by herself. She doesn't do it for herself.
Right.
It is something that is done in the sense of Ujima, collective work. What we have here today is the result of the work of dozens, maybe even hundreds of people. If you understand the teachers who pass the knowledge to us and we pass the knowledge to each other. Collective work and responsibility. What we're doing is for us and it's being done by us as a group. We then light the candle here. Pull up the wick. So collective work and responsibility, the third principle. We're doing it together. We're all benefiting from it because this is work for the community. It ain't about me getting paid. I'm not getting paid. It's not about me getting glory. That's not what I'm here for. It's about us lifting ourselves up. It's done for the group. It's a communal thinking in the language of the politicians. On the fourth day, we talk about Ujamaa. Ujamaa. Anybody here can tell me an English translation for Ujamaa?
Cooperative economics.
Cooperative economics. What we're doing is going to benefit our community. Again, we have to sometimes distance ourselves from some of the people around us because if they don't make $1, there's a whole lot of folks who say, I'm not interested.
Right.
If there's not profit in it, there are a lot of people Some of them look like us, who say, hey, where's the money? We have to understand there's something more important than just us making a dollar. It's about, again, the community, the cooperative economics. I'm going to step on a few toes here, but it's very real. If you know anything about this half of the block, 145th Street from Malcolm X Boulevard up to what used to be the gas station, you understand that there have been thousands of people who said, you know what, how can I make a couple dollars off that real estate? That real estate has changed hands. Some of it is lying dormant, and there are going to be people who want to make millions of dollars off of these, I believe it's 7 buildings. That has not happened because they have largely been about investment. How much do I put in my pocket? There's a challenge before us now. If we're serious about the National Action Network and about the things that we do for the upliftment of Harlem, a couple of us have to go to the community board meetings. A couple of us have to ask some questions. How does our community benefit? Cooperative economics. One of the fights that we've had is there are millions of dollars that was proposed for a building on this site. However, letting the National Action Network remain here and negotiating what we would consider to be reasonable rent for the space is an ongoing argument. Your city council members are part of that argument. Some of the things that are proposed for this community means billions of dollars in profit for other people, and they've been voted down. Someone's going to come to your door. Someone's going to ring your telephone and ask, listen, would you support me? You know, a couple $1,000 that we can do. That's the offer that's been made to thousands of our neighbors. They can make money that benefits them, but it doesn't benefit our community. That's why you have a half a block here that's worth a couple of $1 billion that sits undeveloped for the last 8 or 10 years. We have to understand cooperative economics means if it's not to the point where my brother's children, my sister's nieces, and other people who I care about in the community, if they don't benefit from it, then it's not a development project that helps the community. You start saying that at certain block association meetings, at certain tenant association meetings, at certain church meetings, you get in trouble. There are some pastors, again, if the investment is not there for them individually, they walk away from it. Reverend Sharpton has lost a lot of friends because he dared say, listen, the cost doesn't matter. We have to think about the community. And they walk away from it because to them, the cost does matter. And X billions of dollars is what they want. Cooperative economics that benefits the community, not the individual. Yes, I want a comfortable life. Yes, I want a safe place to live. However, for me to do that at the expense of some of the brothers and sisters who are living in the park across the street, we got a problem. That's the discussion of cooperative economics, which is the 4th principle of the Inclusive Sala, which is what we celebrate today. Moving now to the 5th principle. The 5th principle perhaps undergirds the argument of why we do what we do. The 5th principle is NIA, N-I-A, NIA. And you will find that that's a word that's coming into more and more common parlance. You find that there are some people who are using the word NIA as their name, and there are others who are challenging us that, wait a minute, what you're doing, is there a NIA purpose that benefits us? If someone offers you a book and says, listen, have this book for lunch, this is something that you should eat, you think twice. Wait a minute, that's not what it's for. There's a purpose behind the book, and it's not literally feeding you by eating the book. If someone offers you a job, you know, I would like for you to maybe be the district manager of XYZ Corporation for Harlem, and XYZ Corporation is going to give you so many thousands and thousands of dollars. If it's not something that's going to benefit our community, thousands and thousands of dollars means that you may step apart from some of your neighbors. You may start manifesting a principle that is different from your neighbors when you start saying, wait, the purpose is what we have to pay attention to. Within the education committee, sometimes that's half the agenda. And you should all know, if you don't know already, there's an education committee within the National Action Network. They come up against some people, all political and otherwise, who say, well, you know what? Having a school every 10 blocks is critical. Why? Well, we need to have a school every 10 blocks in this neighborhood. Why? Every 10 blocks we should build a school. The rationale as to what is being done and why never gets discussed. It's a matter of, well, you know what? In order for this corporation to make the money, we need to have a school built every 10 blocks. The purpose gets lost behind it as to, wait a minute, some of these schools are not educating our children. Some of these schools are not providing employment to anybody who looks like us. Some of these schools are continuing systems and values that are destructive to our community. Within the African national milieu, the idea of having purpose that benefits our community is something that's critical. If it doesn't benefit the community, what we say, what the Inclusive Saba says, what we have been learning for years and years, is that why should we do it if it doesn't have a purpose that benefits our community? There are hundreds of thousands of people that you see scooting around New York City on electric or gas scooters on the sidewalk, back and forth. Several people have already died because of accidents. Wait a minute, if it doesn't benefit the community, should I be giving this electrical toy to one of the teenagers in my family? If it doesn't benefit the community in terms of pollution and safety, is this something that's worth manifesting and something that's worth popularizing? Is there a purpose that helps our community? There is a challenge that is certainly a moral challenge, and for some of us a religious challenge. If we don't see a purpose that benefits our community, why are we doing it? Why are we walking around wearing, clothing made out of plastic, or why are we walking around eating XYZ cornflakes that's basically made almost out of cardboard? What's the purpose behind that? Who's benefiting from it? Within the Kwanzaa thinking, we have to be able to articulate, this is what I do. I wear this clothing because I understand the manufacturer is providing jobs to our children. I do this because I understand that the work that we have, that the videographer that we have here is taking knowledge from this place, and that knowledge goes all over the world because of his cable show. That's a reason. If we don't have a reason, well, the psychiatrists have a name for that, when you do things without a valid reason. So, but we have to be aware. We have to have a reason that benefits our community for all that we do. Big challenge sometimes, but that's what we have to ask. If it's not a purpose that benefits our community, then it's a purpose that also hurts our community. That's Anita's purpose. We're up to number 6 now. Number 6, and this is sometimes difficult to put into words, because it's about creativity. Creativity is us doing all that we can in the best way we can, ultimately so our community is better off when we leave than it was when we showed up. And a lot of that is tied to the arts. I see some beautiful people and some beautiful handiwork here today. The stuff that some of these artists have done, and you may not call them artists, you may call them just designers or tailors or whatever, but the stuff that some of these artists have done is something that uplifts the soul, is something that manifests a celebration of our culture, and something that ultimately we all benefit from. There is a train of thought that says the ultimate punishment for any artist is solitude. If there's no one who understands or appreciates what the artist does, some artists that literally can be pushing them over the edge. If you haven't seen the photographs that Azim Thomas has done over the last 30 years, you're missing out on something. And you're missing out on perhaps the creativity of one person's eye and how that is captured on a photograph in ways that cannot be copied, ways that cannot be done by anyone else. The art that is done in some of the things that are on sale here today, that art manifests the creativity that we have. And this is also critical when we talk about our children. All of our children have the ability to manifest art that changes the world. Do you dare say that to your children? You have abilities that can manifest itself in ways that can change the world. And that's any kind of art. It's from James Baldwin, when he was a teenager, got beat up, and a few people took their joy out of kicking his butt because he was gay. However, the work and the novels that James Baldwin did, nobody can compare with that in some way. He did and continues to do some teaching through his work in incredibly artistic ways. If any of your children don't know who James Baldwin is, you got an assignment. You know what to do. The creativity that each one, and again, I want to stress, if we have 80 people in here, there are 80 different forms of creativity that can benefit and can nurture our children sitting in this room. Not just one person. We have some wonderful artists and singers and whatnot, but we have in this room as many forms of creativity as we have people. Our children need to enjoy and need to know that creativity. Within the Saba, that's the principle of Kuumba creativity. The final principle. On the 7th day of Kwanzaa, we celebrate the principle of Imani. Imani is faith, and that faith tells us that there is a message that comes to us from God that is sometimes indiscernible, that is sometimes painful. If anybody has ever buried a loved one who died and understands that in that transition, there is often a very painful lesson that we learn, but nevertheless we benefit from. That sometimes is part of what we're talking about. Within every single thing that we do, there is a faith. And the faith says that this is being done in ways that can uplift us, in ways that can help us to draw closer to each other and to the God that created us. We know some people who are agnostic. We know some people who have turned their backs on God. They still have things happening in their life that can bring them closer to God, even though they don't know it, even if they deny it. And as I said, sometimes a funeral can be a very painful thing, but it can be a manifestation of faith if you understand what that person's life is added to our own. So, faith is the 7th principle of Kwanzaa. We come together at least once a year here at NAN. But there are some of us who do it more often than just once a year. And in the time that we take, we make sure that we understand the principles of Kwanzaa. We should be bringing some of our children here or taking this message back to our children. Within all that we do, we have to remember and be aware of Umoja, Kuji Chagulia, self-determination. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Nia, purpose. Kuumba, creativity. And Imani, faith. This is our celebration. We celebrate each other.
Of our men's committee, I'm getting ready to turn it over to Arnold Penix, but remember, we do still have a few light refreshments left by Anola Tucker of our welcome committee, and she has some NAN items and paraphernalia on sale. To the right of her is a book drive. You're welcome to take any books on your way out, and whatever we have left, we were going to donate it to the National Action Network Education Committee so they can send the books down to Florida. As you all know what's going on down there as far as Black history is concerned. They were donated by my former neighbor and co-worker Kathy Long of the Abyssinian Baptist Church. And finally, support the vendors. The vendors have been here this afternoon. If we left anyone out, just let us know, but please support our vendors on this afternoon. What is your name? Kenneth? Kenneth Bazemore. He has photographs here in the front, framed photographs. After we do our arts and culture segment, feel free to come around and support our vendors. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Arnold Penix.
Thank you, everyone. So sad.
Everybody's so engrossed with themselves, but I'll just go on to perform anyway. It's always good to be home. I'm Ronald Haney. It's nice to see all of you. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year to me. Anyway.
All right, we would like your full attention at the podium. We have somebody who is going to perform and share something with you. So we would like you to quiet down and keep your voices down and keep your conversations to a minimum while we have our performer.
It's all good. I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway and not get it. Okay. I'm here to do, again, my name is Ronald Haney, and if you ever hear, there's a young man running around doing an I Have a Dream speech in Spanish, it would be something like this. Entonces les digo a ustedes, mis amigos, que aunque nosotros enfrentemos las dificultades de hoy y de mañana, aún yo tengo un sueño. Es un sueño profundamente arraigado en el sueño americano. Yo tengo un sueño que un día esta nación surgirá y vivirá verdaderamente de su credo. Nosotros mantenemos estos derechos patentes, que todo hombre es criado igual. Y cuando esto pase, y cuando dejemos resonar la libertad, cuando la dejemos resonar de cada aldea y cada caserío, de cada estado y cada ciudad, podemos apurar el día en que todos los hijos de Dios, hombre negro y hombre blanco, judíos y cristianos, protestantes y católicos, podemos unir nuestras manos y cantar en las palabras del viejo espiritual negro, libre al fin, gracias a Dios Todopoderoso somos libres al fin. And I know you're saying, Martin Luther King was no Puerto Rican. But you'd be surprised to know that Martin Luther King did go to Puerto Rico, and he stayed with Roberto Clemente, Afro-Latino. You know, it's always about bridging gaps. We all out of Africa, you already know what's up. And there's plenty of Latino brothers and sisters that wish they knew what Martin Luther King was saying during that speech. And so I decided to take on that quest. But anyway, here's a clip from August 28, 1963, the March on Washington. I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Mind you, this is just an interpretation. I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 50 years ago, a great American, in whose symbolic shadow we stand today, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro still languishes in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. So we have come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. In a sense, we have come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check. A check that has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vault of opportunity of this nation. So we have come to cash this check. A check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. We have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxuries of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise out of our dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. This sweltering summer of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there is an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. Those who hope the Negro needed to blow off steam and will be content will be in for a rude awakening if this nation returns to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America unless the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundation of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges. But there's one thing I must say to my people who stand on a warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must continue to conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights to meet physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to the mistrust of all white people. For many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. They have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. As we walk, we must make the plans that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality. We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies, heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities. We cannot be satisfied as long as a Negro's basic mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity with signs stating for whites only. We cannot be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote. No, no, we are not satisfied and will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. I'm not unmindful that some of you come here today from great trials and tribulations. Some of you come fresh from narrow jail cells. Some of you come from areas where your quest for freedom left you battered by the storms of persecution and staggered with the winds of police brutality. You have been the veterans of creative suffering. Continue to work with the faith that unearned suffering is redemptive. Go back to Mississippi. Go back to Alabama. Go back to South Carolina. Go back to Georgia. Go back to Louisiana. Go back to the slums and ghettos of our northern cities, knowing the situation can and will be changed. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and about the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and equality. I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will be able to live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, right there down in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and every mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith I go back to the start with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangle and discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all God's children will be able to sing with a new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, so let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York, so let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, so let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, so let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia, so let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee, so let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, every state and every city, this will speed up that day when all God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. And that's this last hour to support our vendors and be a part of the festivities. Thank you so very much. That's our segment from NAN Arts and Culture. Take it away with the festivities. Let's give us some music, DJ.